What if the grand vision of global unity was never really about harmony? What if it was a subtle demand to silence your own song and crow with one singular voice? In the shadowed halls of international diplomacy, words are weapons. They can build bridges, or they can unleash ancient fears. Today, we unearth a forgotten chapter from the late 1980s, a story of nations, of identity, and a single controversial metaphor that revealed a hidden ambition for the entire Asia-Pacific. A metaphor about roosters. Japan, emerging as an economic powerhouse, was championing a new era of regional cooperation, APEC, and its then Foreign Minister Nakayama Taro painted a vivid picture. He spoke of roosters of different colors and different nations gathering in a coop. His hope? That by working together they would eventually crow with one voice. A beautiful vision of unity, right? The official story is that it was, but what if that one voice was a chilling echo of a past no one wanted to revisit? What if it was a demand for assimilation dressed in the garb of diplomacy? By the end of this, your perception of unity will never be the same. Let's rewind to 1989. The Cold War was thawing, and new economic blocs were forming. APEC, the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum, was born. Nakayama Taro, in his efforts to champion this new framework, sought to articulate its spirit. His words were precise. The various countries of the Asia-Pacific region were described as roosters of different colors and different nations. The coop, or house they were being put into, was the new APEC framework. He saw this as a natural evolution. Nations, like roosters, learning to coexist, to work together, to contribute to a collective chorus. On the surface it sounded almost poetic, but peel back the rhetoric and the cracks appear. For many of Japan's neighbors, that image of roosters crowing with one voice wasn't a call to harmony. It was a chilling resonance with a darker period. Think back to the mid-20th century, Japan's vision of a greater East Asia co-prosperity sphere.
A region united, yes, but under whose leadership, under whose dominant influence? The co-prosperity was often a thin veil for occupation, for cultural suppression, for the demand that other nations align themselves with Tokyo's agenda. The Rooster Metaphor, intended to inspire unity, instead triggered a collective memory of forced assimilation. The backlash was immediate, though often hushed in diplomatic circles. For countries like Korea, China, and much of Southeast Asia, the image of their unique national voices dissolving into one singular crow, and particularly one orchestrated by Japan, was unacceptable. It wasn't about cooperation, it was about absorption. It wasn't about shared leadership, it was about subtle dominance. This metaphor wasn't a vision, it was a ghost from the past, rattling the chains of historical mistrust. But here's where the narrative takes a sharp, unsettling turn. We focused on their interpretation, the fear from Japan's neighbors. What the files don't tell you is that the true power of this metaphor wasn't just in the fear it ignited, but in the intent it revealed.
Was Nakayama Taro simply clumsy with his words, or was he perhaps unconsciously vocalizing an ambition deeply ingrained in the subconscious of a rising power? The shift from cooperating roosters to crowing with one voice isn't just about regional harmony. It implies a synthesis, an erasure of individual distinctiveness for the sake of a larger, unified entity. It asks, what happens to the rooster that refuses to crow on command? This wasn't just a misstep. It was a window into a deeper philosophy of integration. The roosters of different colors were welcome, but only if they eventually sounded the same. The individual identities, the unique cries, were to be subsumed into a singular harmonized roar. Imagine for a moment this logic applied today, not just to nations, but to cultures, to economies, even to individual thought. The subtle pressure to conform, to align, to crow with one voice, in a world increasingly pushing for globalized consensus. This seemingly innocuous political analogy from the late 80s was, in essence, a blueprint for a unified global system, one where the terms of that unity are dictated and dissent is problematic. It's the whisper of the globalist dream laid bare. The Rooster Metaphor may have faded from public discourse, dismissed as an unfortunate choice of words, but the underlying tension it exposed, the fear of assimilation versus the promise of unity, remains profoundly relevant. Are we, too, being subtly encouraged to enter a coup-up where our unique voices are expected to blend into one dominant narrative? The files stop there. It's up to us to find what they buried. What have you seen? Where do you witness this subtle pressure to crow with one voice in our modern world? Share your findings below. The truth is rarely spoken, but it is often revealed in the smallest, most controversial of metaphors.